you take a little look at these two, Nick. So you've got the one on the left is the swing at the start of the session, which is demonstrating more of the moves that you want to try and get into your game. The one on the right is with you just introducing that head cover underneath. So that's the environment you've been practicing in. Okay, so we've already seen the swing on the left compared to your original swing when we started working is demonstrating more of the traits that drill introduces, yeah? Pressure point 5's kept maintained for longer, right shoulder works down and around more, right arm doesn't straighten out as quick.
I was doing this quite a lot.
Right, okay. So if you watch these two swings here now and I run these through together, when the head cover's in place, you see how the turning motion is a little bit more continuous on the right. So the right shoulder, right knee, right hip, the pivot is more continuous. Yeah. So the hand action, so the right arm, because you've got the head cover underneath, the right elbow doesn't get moved away from the side as quickly. The right arm doesn't pronate as fast, so that means the club face doesn't twist as much. So that right arm straightening, allied with a pivot that's stalling, is directing the swing out to the right. Now, with an iron, it's a shorter club, it's a less of a corner to turn at the bottom, you're hitting down on it, you might hit the ball pretty straight, you might pull the odd one, or whatever. Your shot pattern will be a lot tighter than it has been. With a driver, that right arm straightening as you push up a little bit more can lead to a lot of heel strikes. So you could be cutting that golf ball, thinking that your club face is way open, etc., etc., and it wouldn't be. You'd just be hitting a really hit like a severe heel strike. Now, if we watch as you exit on this one now, so the club face is less rolled. So that exercise that you're doing on the right, with the head cover squeezed sort of mid-bicep, is controlling the rate at which that right arm straightens. It's controlling the rate at which it straightens. It's controlling the time and the swing that it straightens. And as it straightens, the pivot stalls. Because as that right arm starts to straighten, you've got to pull the chest away to stop the club hitting the ground behind the ball. So any turning on a tilted angle starts to diminish. So you, instead of turning side bending, turning side bending, turning side bending, you start to go turning side bend, turning side bend, turning side bend. Then midway down, you start to pull the chest away. So the turn diminishes, the extension increases, and the side bend now is not required because you can just straighten your right arm out to reach the golf ball. So it's a sort of chicken and egg scenario, but in your case, it's more that, and generally with players, especially established players, it's more the pivot stalls that leads to the chest pulling away and the right arm straightening, rather than, I had a guy in earlier this morning whose right arm straightens very quickly, but he's not as established as you are as a golfer. He's not played for as long as you've played. He's not played to the standard you've played. So that's what you're noticing on there. So that the drill swing is introducing more of what you want, more elements of what you want to the nth degree. Okay, you see the hands are much more quiet. That lead wrist doesn't straighten out as fast. Club face is more stable. Right shoulder's lower to the ground for longer. A little bit more turn, a little bit more side bend. Yeah, wrist conditions are maintained for longer. So there's a lot of good stuff going in. Having said that, if I was able to get your original swing up further to the left on this screen, you'd see next to no elements of what you're seeing on the far right.
That's where we want. This is
that
looking a lot more.
That would be absolutely fantastic, wouldn't it? But we need elements of it. The guy on the left needs elements of what the guy on the right's demonstrating. It doesn't need all of it necessarily to play his best golf. It would be nice. Visually, it would be nice. Your shot pattern would be much tighter. But there are definitely elements of that going into your game now. So it's vitally important at this stage that we keep working on this drill, refine it a little bit, introduce that idea of hitting a few pulls. So you courtesy of just increasing the rotation a little bit so that you get the club face and the path to marry up with one another. Because to pull it, you're not rolling the club face. Yeah? So, and that would also introduce a little bit more rotation, a little bit less extension. You could introduce the idea of stopping quick to that drill. However, when you get the head cover under the arm, the tendency is to stop a little bit quicker anyway. So I don't necessarily see the point of doing that at this stage. So really squeezing that cover mid bicep introduces a lot of good stuff, and it's just refining that, developing that, and like I said to you last time, that exercise really is a conditioning exercise. When you said you had been doing a lot of that, and obviously recently you've not had a chance to do a lot of that, but you've seen the benefits of it, because the difference between the swing that you're making on the left and your original swing are massive. Probably more massive than the difference between those two swings, to be fair. Even though the one on the right looks great and it's the one you want.
I think it just spent a lot. We had to spend a long time digging out the hole it was in.
Correct.
Before working on it.
You're at the point now where you are. You can look at specific shots like you're driving and why is that cutting, etc., and developing that. But from a swing standpoint, you've got something there that's really sort of integral to your long-term improvement. You don't want to get away from that drill with pressure point 5, because the drill there on the right with the cover on the mid bicep won't allow you to make the bad swing that you dread making. Okay, so if I get your very first swing up from when we started to work together, and we stop this one. Similar spot in the swing. You can see there's no flex in that trail knee. The pelvis has already started to level out. Chest pulls away. Turning and side bending diminishes. Right arm straightens out. Club goes away from you. Club face is very unstable. Hand paths too much out to the right. Overtaking rate's its highest. Turning on a tilted angle, hand paths under control, overtaking rates massively different. And then when you come to the exit position, much lower, much less rolled. Now, truth of the matter is, you see some good players who exit in a nice manner, so it looks great as the club exits the body, but they've actually cheated a little bit. You can't cheat there, because you've got that club, that cover on the arm won't let you cheat it, and it starts to give you, they're exact opposite ends of the spectrum, aren't they? Particularly through the hip, particularly when we look at what happens from P6 to say exit.
I remember 5 minutes after meeting you, I was saying, I think I've got a problem here, and you said, well, forget about there. This is what you need to work on, this bit here.
Yeah, without a doubt. Business end of things, isn't it? Now again, you look at the difference between, when you get a chance to watch this video back, the difference between the one on the left and your swing at the start of today is massive. But you still want more of it. You want more of what you're demonstrating on the right. Of course you do, because that's more of an inline pattern, isn't it? But the difference there overall is huge. Okay, so we just want to keep pressing on with that same idea, that same sort of concept, and just keep adding as much detail as we can to it.